something very strange is happening inside the gaming industry right now, which is that Sony and Microsoft are basically in a big court case. They're battling for the future of PlayStation versus Xbox. And what's kind of bizarre is that it sort of sounds like Sony is actually begging to win this lawsuit, to win this deadlock, because if they don't, they might be in trouble. But let's talk about it, because we just got some new information today that actually changes sort of the nature of this entire conversation of the Activision acquisition. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So we're actually over here on Video Game Chronicle. They just posted this article that's actually a transcription of some Business Insider reports that have come out. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan personally flew to Brussels to voice his concerns to the EU over the Xbox Activision deal. Sony has publicly stated its concern over the Call of Duty's future with Microsoft. Now, this entire thing is still sort of baffling to me because from the outside, it does kind of look like Sony is extremely confident. They've been selling lots of games, they've been selling lots of consoles. The PlayStation 5 is still the highest profiting console, even if the Nintendo Switch is outselling it in pure console numbers. But Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, this is the CEO of it, seems to be a bit terrified by the idea of losing Call of Duty maybe permanently. But here we go. According to Dealreporter's sources, which are heavily paywalled because it's an economic website, the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO personally visited the EU headquarters on September 8th to voice the console rivals' concerns about this probable $70 billion deal. As been widely publicized in recent weeks, PlayStation's concerns are over the specific future releases of the Call of Duty series, which is regularly PlayStation's best-selling game. Now, this is interesting to me because on the very surface, I guess a lot of us think about console exclusives as being your highest profiter. The games you make, obviously you're going to get every single dollar bought, but PlayStation just makes so many tens of billions of dollars off just the existence of Call of Duty. And it sounds like this newest Call of Duty may even be their best selling yet. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta just wrapped up here a couple days ago, and Activision is bragging that it has the most hour plays, the most individual players, and even the most matches played, which means that more people are pre-ordering the game to actually get access to the beta. It probably means that more people are hyped, engaged, willing to throw their money in it. This is probably, in a way, even terrifying Sony even more because this is about to be a giant pile of Xbox money. I mean, taking all of these dedicated, hardcore spending consumers and taking that and putting it over on Game Pass or something, that is going to be an enticing allure to a very hardcore and very activated demographic. But there's another part of this that I feel like a lot of people are not going to understand, which is this September 8th release date. Now, as I record this video, it is currently October 1st, so happy spooky month to everybody. But there have been multiple very peculiar statements over the course of the last 3 weeks released by people like Phil Spencer over at Xbox and different executives inside of Sony sort of debating in a public forum how good or bad this deal is going to end up being. Is this a positive? Is this a negative? I mean, Sony claims that the acquisition of Activision will hurt gamers. They actually used those words, that this will somehow hurt the industry and permanently hurt PlayStation. And I'm kind of fascinated about that because those statements were released after this meeting happened. I do think that Microsoft is trying to hit back as loudly as possible to put all of this to bed. In fact, there was even this, remember recently, this is the CEO, the complete head of Microsoft right here, Satya. And he says, the number one player in this case is Sony. I think even this period has acquired 3 companies. So I think this is about competition. Let us have competition. So here's the soundbite.
So if this is about competition, let us have competition.
Let us have competition. Now, a lot of people are sort of upset about this quote after it initially came out because this was released 9 days ago. And it feels a bit skewed because honestly, Sony's acquisitions have been quite tiny. I mean, even if you consider the $2 billion they spent on Bungie, most of their other stuff has been just a couple $100 million deals, getting people that are going to port more PlayStation games to PC, more middle tier people that are probably going to help with their games as a service projects in 2023. None of this is nearly on this size. And some people are also saying that this comparison is very unfair because the let us have competition jab, as it's phrased here by Paul Tassi, is unfair simply because this buyout, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, because we do have to realize they're also buying everything from Overwatch to Diablo to freaking World of Warcraft, that means that in pure monetary size, this is basically buying a company the size of Sony. Some people have said that. Why isn't that Sony isn't buying something for $70 billion? That's because Sony themselves is like a $70 billion company. Microsoft right now is basically buying a PlayStation-sized company. I mean, Sony can't really compete in a pure monetary sense. In the creative space, when it just comes pound to pound, release for release, I think that Sony can keep up to some degree. But after a while, you just can't compete with that amount of dollars, that amount of bulk, that amount of actual raw spending. But let me go back to this article here because it's actually interesting that somebody else chimed in. In this official complaint that was lodged by Jim Ryan, Google also chimed in. Officially, Google said that they just think it's not fair. They're voicing their concerns with these regulators to hopefully deadlock this deal. Last month, Phil Spencer at Microsoft said they're committed to making PlayStation available for several more years on PlayStation consoles, although freaking Jim Ryan thinks this isn't enough. It is inadequate on many levels. So what's actually happening here, for those who don't fully understand, is that in order for a deal this big to be completed, everybody has to agree it's fair. People over in the United Nations, they got to agree this is fair. Everybody over in Brazil's got to agree this is fair. Everybody everywhere has to sign off on it. This is an acquisition that is so massive, it is going to change worldwide video games. And regulators need to make sure that this is fair. It's the reason that somebody isn't allowed to own every single cell phone company on the planet. It's because at that point, there's no longer competition. You could make the crappiest cell phone in the world and everybody would have to buy it because they can only purchase from you. I understand these better business bureau debates and stuff, but I guess from my standpoint, as a guy who does play a lot of Xbox games, who does love Game Pass a lot, in fact, I'm super obsessed with Proteus right now in Game Pass, but is predominantly a PlayStation gamer, I guess I'm still just kind of so deeply intrigued by the very blatant fear of Sony. They definitely have numbers that we just don't have. Sony just has income reports that explain the power of Call of Duty that me, even as a hardcore gamer, I'm kind of baffled about. I wonder how big these marketing deals have been, how big these pre-order numbers have been. How much is it that Sony is just completely raking it in? How much of PlayStation's development costs have been, in a backwards way, getting paid by Call of Duty completely by itself? And will losing just Call of Duty actually tank PlayStation? It's baffling to even consider. But what do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. I had some bad stuff happen in my personal life, by the way. If I'm a little bit out of sorts for the next 5 days, there might be less videos and stuff. I'm going to upload when I'm in the mood, but honestly, I'm just sort of taking a little mini vacation to hit the gym and play a lot of 3DS. I'm playing Dragon Quest. I'm vibing. I'm getting a lot of sleep. But I love you guys very much, and I promise more reviews here in a couple weeks. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.